Richfield Life. I'm Pastor Rodney Ingram from Smith Corner Church. Welcome to church this morning. We've got so many announcements for you. Hey, let's enjoy a fresh cup of coffee. It's almost as good as the one at Cruisers.
Hey, today is Youth Sunday. We hope you're blessed as you hear what God has been doing in our lives as we lead worship.
Next Sunday night, there will be a special service at Great Bills Grove on Easter Valley Road. We hope you will all come out and join us. More information can be found in your bulletin.
We have some exciting things starting back up in September.
Has your life been changed by Jesus? Well, if so, you should consider sharing that with some of the youth and children in our church.
First, we need everyone to commit to praying for our youth and children's ministry.
Wednesday nights, our youth in pre-K to 6th grade Awana clubs meet, and we need some volunteers.
All types of jobs are available: kitchen helpers, sign-up helpers, and substitute teachers, and weekly leaders.
You also need some additional workers for Sunday morning Greenhouse Children's Church. We're looking for a 1-year commitment for teachers and substitutes, pre-K through 6th grade.
Please see the children's or youth directors for more information.
Fall is a wonderful time to get involved and start up a group maybe that you haven't been involved in before. We have several things that are happening this fall that we would love to have you, yourself, your family, with your spouse, however it is, we'd love to have you get involved in one of these ministries. Proverbs 27:17 says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another." And we would love to see you get involved with a group for that purpose. We have life groups that are happening. They meet multiple different times during the week. We have groups for all ages, families involved, couples, singles. We would love to get you involved in one of our life groups. We also have journey groups that will be starting up again in September, and that is a group that meets together and encourages and disciples one another and mentors one another. And we also have a one-on-one mentoring program, Men of Iron Built. We will be making an announcement about that next week, so stay tuned for more information about that specific ministry. But again, we'd love to have you or your family involved in one of these ministries at our church. Life groups, journey groups, one-on-one mentoring. Again, get involved. We want you to be encouraged, and we want to support one another. And it's a great way to make our big church feel smaller as we get involved in small group ministries in our church.
Last of all, we want to say thank you to all of you who have been faithful to give financially to the work of the ministry at Richfield Life. We are a little over halfway through the year, and as everyone knows, lots of costs have gone up. But because of the faithful giving of God's people, our budget needs have been met in full. Thank you for your part in giving to the work of the ministry. Now join us as we worship together.
The next day. Damus. Swimming in the water.
Good morning from Camp Manawagan. Being here at camp reminds me how much I love camp and I love retreats. Well, we have a ladies' retreat coming up, and it's a little bit different than what we've done in the past, because in the past we've done a whole weekend, but we realize with people's schedules that's sometimes not possible to get away for a whole weekend. So this year we're going to try something new, and it's an all-day retreat, and it will take place in the Family Life Center at Richfield Life Ministries, and it will take place Saturday, September 24th. So ladies, mark your calendars. We are excited for that event. Our speaker for the event is Lori Hinson, and her topic is Over Myself, Saying Goodbye to the Supergal Syndrome. It will begin registration at 9:30 a.m. and it will finish around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, give or take a little bit. Lunch will be provided as well as a morning snack. The fee for the weekend or for the day is $20 and it can be paid at the door. If you're interested in coming, we encourage you to come, bring a friend with you. All you have to do is call or text Bonnie at the office, or Connie Heinzelman. Either one of those ladies can register you for this great event. Again, it's a one-day event, 9:30 to 3 o'clock, lunch provided, $20. Bring a friend. It's going to be a great day of spending time together. We'll have worship, we'll have a speaker, we'll have some fun times together. So I hope that you'll come out and join us for that event.
What's your favorite part of camp?
The games.
What's your favorite part of camp so far?
The food.
The food?
Food too.
We do about 25 loaves a day.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are.
What's your favorite part of camp?
The games and the lake.
Going to the lake. The lake.
Moose!
Good morning, everyone. Looked like they had a wonderful time at camp. My heart was there. I wasn't able to go this year, but my heart was there. So as we sing today, would you please stand? We're going to sing 318, I Believe in a Hill Called Mount Calvary. There are things as we travel this earth-shifting sands that incends all the season of man. But the things that matter the most in this world, they can never be held in our hand. I believe in a hill called Mount Calvary. I believe whatever the cost. And when time has surrendered and earth is no more, I will cling to that old rugged cross. I believe that the Christ who was slain on that cross has the power to change lives today. For he changed me completely, a new life is mine. That is why by the cross I will stay. I believe in a hill called Mount Calvary. I'll believe whatever the cost. And when time has surrendered and earth is no more, I'll still cling to that old rugged cross. I believe that this life with its great mysteries surely someday will come to an end. But faith will conquer the darkness and death, and will lead me at last to my friend. I believe in a hill called Mount Calvary. I'll believe whatever the cost. And when time has surrendered and earth is no more, I'll still cling to that old rugged cross. I have to admit, I never heard that song before doing it today, but it's a beautiful song. Okay, the next song is 320, if you want to follow along the books. Beneath the Cross of Jesus. Beneath the cross of Jesus, I faith would take my stand. The shadow of a mighty rock within a weary land, a home within the wilderness, a rest upon the way. From the burning of the noontide heat and the burning of the day, there lies beneath its shadow, but on the farther side, the darkness of an awful grave that gapes both deep and wide. And there between us stands the cross, two arms outstretched to save, like a watchman set to guard the way from that eternal grave. Upon the cross of Jesus, mine eyes at times can see the very dying form of one who suffered there for me. And from my smitten heart with tears these wonders I confess, the wonder of his glorious love and my unworthlessness. I take, O come thy shadow, my abiding place. I ask no other sunshine than the sunshine of his face. Content to let the world go by, to know no gain or loss. My sinful self, my only shame, my glory, all the cross. Stay standing, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here, and would you kneel and pray if you can? Dear God, I pray for those who are here and for those who are watching online. And I pray for those who are sick and can't be here for whatever reasons, for whatever they have. I pray that they'll get better. And I pray for the missions that are already done and current. And thank you that Tim's went well in Alaska. And I pray for all the kids who saved and got seeds planted in their lives while in Alaska. And I pray for the mass in Taiwan with all the political stuff going on over there. And thank you that everything went well. Amen.
Who want to say bad things about young people. If you're saying bad things about young people, I'm going to go out and... I think more than ever, I'm annoyed by society and perhaps Christians who want to say bad things about young people. If you're saying bad things about young people, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're not spending time with them. That's the only reason you're talking garbage, because they're amazing. I saw nothing but obedience, faithfulness, energy, excitement, and a desire to love these kids. And so to all of our teenagers, not just the ones that went along on this trip, but to every single teenager that's in this room, thank you for your love for Jesus Christ. Thank you for being an example in difficult days. And I love you, and I'm proud of you. And it was a real honor to get to be with you. And to those that weren't with us, the same is true.
Morning. There we are. Good morning, everyone. How are we doing this morning? Oh, they're not awake yet. Well, you'll be awake in a couple minutes, I promise. But hey, guys, listen. That video was Aaron's reaction getting back from Alaska, guys, and I can echo every bit of it, having gone to East Waterford to the Christian Retreat Center for a Tim's trip with a lot of these teens also. What we got to witness was just an incredible show of God's love in their lives. in the lives of who they got to interact with, in them giving up their time and energy because we didn't sleep a lot. I saw pictures from Alaska. I didn't go, but I saw pictures from Alaska of camp, and then just multiple pictures of everybody. I'm like, yeah, that's post-camp. Yeah. And that's how we were coming back from Tim's, too. We had 95-degree weather. We were exhausted, but these kids didn't stop. These students, they kept going. It was awesome. So what we're going to do this morning first is wake everybody up. And before we share, we're going to get you guys involved. So if everybody wants to stand back up, we have one more song that you got a little teaser for in the campfire. For those who don't know camp songs, we're going to try this out. This is a repeat after me song. All right, a couple know this. All right. Brayden, go ahead.
Alrighty, we're going to be singing the Moose song. Am I starting now? Alrighty. The moose, swimming in the water, eating his breakfast. Where does he go? The next day, the moose, swimming in the water, eating his breakfast. Here comes the hunter. The next day, dead moose, floating in the water, not eating his breakfast. He decomposes. The next day, the fish, swimming in the water, eating the moose bits. Where do they go? You don't wanna know.
You guys can take a seat. And now that everyone's awake, now you get to hear a little bit from us. Did I do good? Participate the rest of the time. Change it over here. All right, so what we're going to do now is kind of set the mic down, and I'm going to ask everybody to just introduce themselves, what's your name, your grade, what group you went on. Okay, so name, grade, group, and what did you learn? Something that stuck out to you. Maybe it'll be a teaser for if you're sharing in a couple minutes. Go ahead.
Oh, am I starting? Okay, I'm starting. I am Brayden, and I'm going into 8th grade and was on the Alaska trip. And I just learned how happy kids are to be at camp.
I'm Lydia, and I'm going to 12th grade. I went on the Alaskan and Tim's trip. And
Good morning, I'm Caleb. I went on the Tim's trip and we built a deck for our homeowner, and we got to know her better and do devotions with her.
I am Savannah. I am 16. I'm homeschooled, so I don't know what grade I'm going into, but I went on the Tim's trip and helped build a deck, and I learned how to cut steel. Enjoy.
I'm Caitlin. I'm going into 11th grade. I went on the Tim's trip, and I learned from our speaker, he talked about the one night that you don't necessarily have to lead a person to a prayer to show them Jesus. You can, through the things that you do and by showing them love.
I am Malia, and I am in, I think, 21st grade. I'm not sure. I was on the Tim's trip, and I learned just how great these kids are, and they powered through the whole week. They're pretty cool.
I'm Erin, and I'm going into 11th grade, and I went on the Tim's in Alaska trip, and I learned that it takes 2,100 sticky notes to sticky note half a truck.
I'm Becky. I went to the Tim's trip. I'm in 11th grade, and I learned how humbling it is to see the happiness of our homeowner.
after we did our projects.
I am Mia. I just graduated in June, so I'm not in high school anymore. I went on the Tim's trip, and I kind of learned a lot on the trip, but one thing I kind of learned is, like, even though you might think you don't really have a story, you do, and it can be inspiring to others.
Josh, I agree. I think it is 21st or 22nd grade I'm in. I went on the Tim's trip also. And I already kind of shared what I learned, what I got to see throughout the week was just the incredible selflessness that these students brought. It was amazing. So we've been throwing around the Tim's trip. I threw around CRC Christian Retreat Center. That's a camp out in East Waterford. But I want to pass it off now to Becky. That's going to kind of introduce. She was in one of the first groups. There was two groups at the Tim's trip and one group in Alaska. So you're going to kind of hear from 3 small groups this morning of the kind of projects that we got to be involved in.
All right, my group for Tim's consisted of 5 girls, which I don't think we're all here, and Ben and Yvette as our leaders. We worked on a home in a trailer park, and our homeowner's name was Charlie. We started the week by building a deck for his back door. That took us most of the week, but once we finished, we were split into 2 groups to finish 2 more tasks. Caitlin and Renee built a step for Charlie's shed, and they like to say it's the best step anyone will ever see. Meanwhile, me, Aaron, and Mia ripped off shingles on a different shed roof and then replaced it with tin that reflected the sun, so it made it super bright and super hot. Overall, the week was very busy and hot, but I'd say we all had fun.
All right, so I know that this will be said multiple times, I can guess, by the rest of the group, but I genuinely enjoyed the chance that I had to go on the Tim's trip this year. I loved the opportunity to grow closer to my fellow youth mates, my friends, and my youth leaders, as well as helping people in the community. I love to help people out as I can, and I like to work with my hands too, so I guess you could say that going on the Tim's trip would be perfect for me. If I could get my paper to cooperate. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't mind sitting here, so yeah. I went along on the Tim's trip last year too, and I really had a lot of fun then and looked forward to this year. When I first heard that we would be going for Tim's again this year, I could hardly wait. I greatly look. Okay, you know what? I am going to come up here. I greatly looked forward to the possibility of going on a trip again, pretty much ever since the end of the trip last year. I had a really good experience with. I had a really good experience with learning new things on the work site, getting to know people from the other church that was there with us, and growing closer to everybody I went on the trip with. Well, some of you might know that I'm not much of a people person. I like to keep to myself most of the time, not really interacting with everybody much. I never really had any friends in school because I didn't exactly have a desire to interact with others. I mean, I did, but I didn't really share any of the same interests as the other kids did. Even when I started coming to youth group back in 7th grade for Trek, I was more withdrawn and shy a little bit. However, I had a few more things in common with everyone at youth group, so I started coming out of my shell and becoming more interactive with everyone. It might have taken me a few years perhaps, but I got to the point where I really looked forward to coming to youth group. I was quite disappointed whenever I couldn't come one Wednesday night for one reason or another. I may not share a lot of interests exactly with everyone at youth group or have the same thoughts and ideas, but I share the one thing that really matters most. have faith in God and Jesus Christ as everybody else does. My story of how I came to Christ is kind of similar too. Like, both of my parents are Christian, and I asked Jesus to come into my heart at a young age. I don't really remember exactly how old I was when I came to Christ. I remember always having faith. I haven't really had many hardships in my life that really challenged my faith, and honestly, I'm thankful for that. There was one time in my life, though, where I had withdrawn from everything, and I wasn't myself anymore. Because of the COVID pandemic being rampant 2 years ago yet, which, would have been like my junior year, students and staff were all required to wear masks in school, and I really wasn't comfortable wearing one. Like, could hardly breathe, and I would end up having headaches after wearing one for a while. And as a result of that, I just decided to be online for all my classes, which it was okay, depending on my class, but there were 2 classes that I had, though, that I braved wearing a mask to be in person for because I knew they'd be difficult for me. I was in person for those 2 particular classes until January of last year when President Biden took office. I wasn't exactly sure what would happen with all of that, so I made the decision to go full virtual, even for those 2 classes I was in person for. I was doing okay with my classes for a while, but I was still somewhat used to getting to the idea of being all virtual, stuck at home. As the rest of the year wore on, though, as we were coming into the spring, I started becoming more, withdrawn and depressed because I wasn't getting that physical interaction with my classmates and my teachers as I was used to. I couldn't get the full learning experience. I could tell that I wasn't really myself anymore, but I felt powerless to do anything about it. Along with not being much of a people person, I can really have a hard time with opening up to people and sharing how I feel. One of the fears that I have, one of my bigger fears, I guess you could say, is my fear of being vulnerable. Being open with people definitely makes me vulnerable. I go to Cowboy Church over at Promise Ranch on Sunday evenings, and just like with most churches, we have a praise and prayer time every night before the message. It was on my heart to ask for prayer, to ask for help for a few months, but I couldn't seem to gather the courage to speak up and ask. Like with most things, I was trying to have everything figured out on my own, but it doesn't really work. About sometime in April, I think, I don't exactly remember anymore, I finally got the courage to ask the congregation at Cowboy Church to pray for me. Soon after that night that I asked for prayer, I could feel God working in my life. It was around that time that a desire was kindled in me for to grow in my faith and to trust God more. Like everyone has now and then, I have some days where I'm upset and not in the best of moods. I'm human. It happens. Those days for me, though, aren't as bad as they used to be anymore. Along with some people, I have an issue with being a perfectionist. And it used to be for me that I'd be upset with myself for hours after making what would be just, to some people, just a small mistake, like after that would happen, like I'd be upset with myself for hours, like can't really stand that happening. But on most things now, whenever I make a mistake, I think about it a little bit, like think what I could do differently or how I could have done that better. I just think on it for a while, and then I can usually let it go. And kind of as I alluded to a bit earlier, like, I used to think that my life was boring, like I didn't really have much of a story. I realize now that, like, as I get older and go through more of life and experience more, that I do have a story. And as somebody recently told me, my story can really be inspiring to people. So if any of you out there think that you don't have a story, especially the younger ones of you, like me, and the rest of youth group up here on stage, you do indeed have a story. You were created by God for a purpose and a reason, even though you may have no idea what it is yet. I mean, I'm 18 and I still don't really have an idea of what God's plan is for me. I don't really know what God has in store for my life yet, but I trust that He has a great plan.
All right, as I said earlier, my name's Caitlin. I grew up in a Christian home and accepted Christ when I was like 6-ish. When I was younger, I was always the kid that at like camp and everything, every time that they would have the like prayer to lead kids to Christ, I would pray just to be sure, you know. Never really did much about my faith for most of my life, just went to church and prayed and read my Bible and all that because it was what you were supposed to do. But over the last couple of years, I've been working on taking Christianity from being my parents' faith to making it my own, and finding joy in going to church and studying the Word and all that. Something that I learned on the trip is faith in Jesus Christ is a commitment. I can't just go to church every week and pray before I go to bed to have a relationship with Him. I made a commitment to God to worship Him, not just when it's convenient. And a little extra tidbit, I actually saw our homeowner, Charlie, at the McAllisterville Carnival last night. And I talked to him, and he told me that he put a little table and chairs out on his deck, and he's been sitting out there and eating his breakfast. So I think it's safe to say he likes it. So, yep. Who's next?
Renee's not here. We have a handful of people missing, guys. I'll tell you, we only have about half of the youth that went. So this already looks like a pretty solid group of people, but there's even more. But now moving on to the group that went to Alaska to Echo Ranch. Aaron's going to share a little bit about kind of what they did out there and why they went.
Okay, so the first day we got to Alaska, we did some sightseeing, and then the next morning, which was a Sunday, we got on a ferry that was like 4 hours and 45 minutes, and that took us to Haines. I believe that the only way to get to Haines is by a boat, so when we got to Haines, we had all day to explore the camp and get prepared for camp, which started the next day. The camp was Monday through Thursday and started at 9 and ended around 2:30ish. The day camp was just for 5-year-olds to 13-year-olds, but we did have a few 4-year-olds. Then Thursday night, we did an all-nighter with the teenagers of Haines. Then Friday, we packed up camp and got on another ferry that evening and arrived at Juneau. And from there, we went straight to Echo Ranch Bible Camp, where we stayed until Sunday evening. We didn't have any responsibilities at Echo Ranch, so we got tours of the camp and just hung out there. And then Sunday evening, we all left Echo Ranch and went back to Juneau to stay in a town. And then early Monday morning, my family and the Benners left for home, and I have no idea what the rest of the group did after that.
So I really enjoyed Echo Ranch and would have stayed there the entire summer if I could. I really enjoyed the weather, the scenery, and the kids, how they worked through us and how God worked through them. I really enjoyed the group we were with, and yeah.
Alrighty, I got 2 stories about what happened at camp. So one day we were playing this game called Pirates and Ninjas. One person's throwing disc at the other team, one has a noodle. So I go and hit Grace Schaefer, and the kid comes running by, and he runs right into my knuckle. And then he was crying there, so I felt really, really bad. Then, these kids were so happy to be at camp. 5 minutes later, up, smiling, playing cornhole. And the nice thing is, the kids sat with me at lunch then, so I guess we were chill in the end. But honestly, when the campers were there, that was the best part of the day. But the last day of camp is really sad to see them go. And then I have another story. It's less, spiritual. But so one day we were kayaking. Already dangerous, So I'm a big boy. So I'm on a kayak. I'm not quite sure if I'm pushing the limits or not. So they're like, oh, Brayden, are you sinking? Ha ha ha. And I'm like, nah. So I get kind of farther away from the shoreline. Brayden, are you sinking? No. So I start paddling really, really fast. Well, fast for Brayden, to get to the island right in front of me when I could have turned around. I was tunnel visioned at the moment. So I'm bobbing in and out of water. Scary, pretty scary stuff. I could have got hypothermia because it's Alaska water, glacier water, cold. And then say from me to the benches, sea porpoises start rising while I'm sinking. So we have to have someone go into another person's kayak so that I won't sink to the bottom. And so yeah, that person goes to the kayak. Then I have to counterweight it while that happens, while my boat is sinking. Then I go and take the other person's boat, and then we strap it on the back of another person's and go back to shore. But it was against the current, so it was really hard. Well, I think that's all I got.
When you were in the kayak, what were you thinking about? I don't miss the opportunity for that, Jim.
I was thinking I don't want to die like this, man. That's scary stuff. Who wants to die by freezing to death?
Brayden, the real question is, why didn't you just hop on a porpoise and ride back to shore?
See, I don't know, man. I should have.
Is that tunnel vision?
All right, and then finally, guys, the third group that we had was the other group at CRC. Caleb's going to kind of let you guys know what we did.
So I was in Josh and Malia's group, and Lydia and Savannah are the only 2 people here from our group. And we built a deck for a lady. She had an old overhang off the side of her trailer, and it was falling down, so we ripped it down and built her a new one, and then put lattice around it. And then the rest of the week, we built an overhang over her oil tank. And Thursday, the day before last day, she had lunch with us and then did devotions with us. And she said that was really special to do that with us because a lot of people where she worked have been dragging her down.
Yeah, I was on that group with them. He says it was my group, but we built a porch, and I don't know how to build a porch. So, I don't know. We all kind of worked at it together. It was absolutely incredible, guys. I was not thrilled when I was told by CRC, like, yeah, your group's just going to go build a porch. And I was like, they think I know how to do that. I'm flattered. And, by the time we were done with it, I didn't actually hardly have to do anything because as we did label Caleb as job foreman, so he was super helpful when he wasn't in the middle of a violent outburst. You can ask him about that. We had to work with him all week. Things were thrown. It was rough. There was only one injury. They were okay, but I think Caleb worked through a lot. But it was so cool to see people and see people grow with Christ, see people grow in doing new things. We had students on the trip that never held a saw, a power saw to be specific, that were then going and showing other students how to cut the lattice, which if you've never cut lattice, that is a bumpy 8-foot cut that you have to go straight with. That is an impressive cut regardless. And just seeing these students completely rise to the occasion, completely see somebody and get to befriend them, get to know their story, get to share their story with her. Our homeowner was a super sweet lady named Kelly. I think she was the best homeowner because she bought us pizza on Thursday, and she hung out with us all week. It was great. She had a bunch of animals and stuff. It was so much fun, and it was fun to build the porch, but it was more fun to see, students going off and just sitting and talking with her for 10 minutes, or, me and Caleb were trying to put steel on the oil cover that we built, the little lean-to over her oil tank, and it's about 95 degrees, about 95% humidity, all right? It looked like we got out of the shower, honestly, most of the week. And all of a sudden, I got all these stuff sticking to the back of my neck because the homeowner, Anna Moyer and Savannah, were like picking little fruit off the pine trees and like, can we stick them to the back of Josh's head? And so I'm like trying to help measure steel, and I'm wiping stuff that's getting stuck in my ear. But it was, guys, that's what this trip was about. They got to have so much fun, and it was absolutely a joy to see. And our homeowner, actually, I was flattered because she said, how often do you guys do this? I was like, no, we don't do this. She goes, you don't do this full time? No, we're not a construction team. She was very gracious in that, but she goes, what do you do when you're not here? And it really made me think. And so it's really been something that's been challenging me as we came home. Just, what do you do when you're not here? And like, wow, that's only 1 week out of the year. And it's really kind of encouraged me just as I look at building relationships with people and really making sure that's the focus of what we're doing. Because there was a lot of fun on the trip. I will say, Camp played their video. I had a video. It was about 3 o'clock this morning. I finished the video, and my software crashed, and it's gone. Yeah. You'll get to see a video next week because I actually didn't have enough time to redo it had I even pulled an all-nighter. But you'll see shenanigans, fun, all the games they played, all the projects they get to build. But the most important things that I got to see putting that together was all the time that was spent with the homeowners, all the time that was spent with students up in Alaska. Because those relationships, don't get me wrong, the porch we built's going to stand. I hope. No, it's going to stand, guys. We didn't quite know what we were doing, so we just overbuilt it. So it's not going anywhere. But I promise you that the relationships that we built, and I told the students this, the relationships they built will last way longer than anything material that they did. It will last longer than any cleaning they did. It will last longer than anything they put together, built, nailed, screwed, whatever. The relationships with people, with students, with homeowners, getting to share your heart with them, that was what made the trip worth it.
So this trip for me was, it's actually the first missions trip Josh and I have done together since we met in Alaska. So that was kind of cool, just seeing how we work together as a couple and just, yeah. But I started out Sunday night, like, ready to go, like, this is going to be great, God's got this, and then I get sick. I was like, oh, okay, well, it was just kind of cool how God worked throughout the week. Just, he's a lot bigger than any type of head cold and anything. Just, there was a lady there that, of course, as the medical person on the trip, I didn't bring the cold and flu medicine, but I had everything else, which comes in later. What? Oh, whatever. Okay. I didn't have lotion. I'm sorry. I had suntan lotion. Anyway, rude. So, yeah, there's a lady there that had cold and flu medicine, which was super helpful. And it was just really cool seeing how big God is, and that I didn't feel like the heat really bothers me with my Lyme disease. So like I was like, it's gonna be hot, I'm gonna be miserable, like negative attitude, but not like, I don't know, choosing to be positive in that and just see what God can do. And honestly, like it was hot, but I was fine. My immune system was great. It just, God was good, and I didn't feel tired until Friday. And so it was just really cool to see how God worked and how he gave me the energy that I needed to be a wife, to be a leader. And yeah, I really loved, Kelly was awesome, our homeowner, and I actually invited her here today, and I think she'll be watching eventually, so that's cool. But it's really cool to see just how she enjoyed the community that the kids gave her, and she joined us for Devos the one afternoon. But yeah, she was with us the whole week, coming out, helping us clean, showing us what she wanted, and I just talked to her last night, and she loves the deck. It's like the greatest thing ever. And she actually lives, we weren't sure how sturdy it would be at first, and she lives 2 streets down from the Speedway. Well, that week, the street right up from her, a car had flown off, a race car, and went into someone's porch. So as we were building it, we were like, you know, this thing's pretty sturdy. I think it'll take a race car. So hopefully we don't have to find out if that happens or not, but it's pretty sturdy. Yeah, it was just super cool to see how the kids all work together. Lolly, she's not here, but she's like the straightest cut ever. Which is amazing because I couldn't do that. I didn't even try. But yeah, just students are awesome. I think that's all I have. You good? Okay. And
Anything Tim's trip related?
oh, I guess I can go into the story where I needed other medical stuff. So all of our kids came home in one piece. There was another group there that not so much. We were trying to hang hammocks at one point, and I was struggling to get in mine. And then I was saved by one of the camp staff saying, hey, we need you at the water slide. And I was like, oh no. Like, is there blood? Is there broken bones? Is there, what's going on? Because, you know, of course no one knows. So get to the water slide, and there's one of the girls from the other group, and I think it's safe to say she broke her arm. And yeah, so it was just cool to see, like, there was no medical staff there, and just seeing how God provided what that group needed, what the camp staff needed, and just taking care of her. And it's like, I don't know, it's just really cool. That's all I got.
All right, well, the last thing I have for you guys here is kind of just some questions, all right? So if Aaron, if you go over there to the Alaska group, Malia, go over with Caleb and Savannah, and then Caitlin, come over here. Okay, so we got 3 people from each group here, although both of them are kind of double dip into 2 groups. But I just want to know, kind of briefly, what was the best part of the trip from your group? So just pick a spokesperson. What was the best part?
The kids, they were the greatest, honestly.
Okay. Where'd you find kids?
Okay, so the best part was our homeowner, Kelly. She was just super cool and hung out with us the whole week, and that was awesome.
All right, I would say the best part for us, or me at least, was using the power tools. And me and Caitlin also had, and Aaron also enjoyed sticky noting Caleb's truck. And saran wrap.
Only the front.
Saran wrap.
Saran wrap, yeah. Okay. What about, and we'll go back the other way this time, the hardest part of the trip, besides the weather, because it was stinking hot all week.
Everything was easy because I'm an expert.
You should have everything to say that.
Everything was easy because I'm an expert.
Wasn't my group.
And very humble. That's excluded. You don't even go here. What's the hardest part? Oh, you guys are not out. That's your Alaska list? No.
Does the Alaska group have something?
Yes, they have something.
All right, Aaron, your turn.
Seeing the kids leave.
Do you have something?
Seeing the kids leave.
You have really good eyesight if you saw that from Pennsylvania.
leaving Tim's. Yeah. That was a super good week. And,
All right. And this is more of a random question. Who in your group did you discover was the most violent?
All right. Well, I think there could be a three-way tie technically. So we got Caitlin over here. I don't know. She's got some underlying. Oh, I thought we were doing the whole. Oh, our group.
Your group.
Okay, there's a tie. There's still a tie. All right. So we have Caleb, who likes to drop wood on people, and we're very fearful to stand underneath him for a while. And then we have Jasmine, who's not with us today, and she enjoys biting people. It's a sign of affection. So I guess it's not violent. So I guess you do win. But yeah.
Do you have somebody that was violent also?
I only hit a few kids by accident, okay?
That's true. Your story was that he ran into your hand. So yeah, I guess that's kind of violent.
Yeah. And then Gaga Ball, sometimes be a little bouncy. You go to hit it. It finds its way to a kid's face. I know.
This group down here, do we have to pass the mic?
Well, it's Caitlin. Thanks. Do you want to say why?
Caleb, do you want to defend yourself? All right. To provide a little bit of context here, okay, we're putting the ceiling joists in for this porch. Caleb dropped one board. Thankfully, it only hit Isaac, who was standing. I say Isaac. We love Isaac, but he was standing up, and he wasn't like down, so it wasn't a far fall. It was only like 2 feet. But this is what was happening. Ryan texted me, said, "Hey, I'm praying for you this week." I said, "Oh, that's great. Let me take a picture and send it to Ryan." So I hold my phone up, and I go to snap the picture, and I look at the picture, and the picture is like Isaac holding his head after a board just fell. I'm like, "Oh, I shouldn't. I'm not going to send Ryan that picture. Not going to send that one to Ryan." But then, so he drops one board, not a big deal, but then he drops a couple tools. And it gets down to this point, like second day, I didn't realize it until he's putting a joist in, and everyone else is just like standing outside watching. Nobody would stand inside the porch. All right, last question here. Who from the mission trip in general most likely to fall out of a 15-foot tall hammock?
Aaron.
Fall out of a 15-foot tall hammock. You did catch yourself. That will be in the video too. There was nothing unsafe about the trips, guys. Don't worry. All right, I have something small to share in closing, guys. All right. Romans chapter 10, verses 14 to 15. How then can they call on one that they have not believed in? And how can they believe in the one whom they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching to them? And how can anyone preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. Guys, that verse, that couple verses there encapsulates what went on in July, all these mission trips that happened. All of these, this is just a recap from the students, but there was adults involved in trips. There was adults involved in the Alaska trips. There's other mission trips going on right now. There's tons of missionaries that we as a church support. And the one part of that verse that I love is, how would they preach if they're not sent? And I just want to thank you as a church for constantly supporting missions, whether it's financially, whether it's prayerfully, whether it's through encouragement. And that even encouragement today as these youth come down from sharing that they were not excited for. I will say, when I told them on the trip, I said, hey, in 2 weeks we're going to have a youth Sunday. It's going to be our opportunity to share a report of what happened. The first comment from our own Aaron Schaefer, well, that's how Josh becomes the next ex-youth pastor. The first comment. Like, just to get you guys to understand something, some of you might think teenagers are scary, but I'll tell you right now, they are more scared of you than you are of them. But I just am so thankful for you as a church sending us, you as a church sending these youth and pouring into them and encouraging them in this. So I'm going to close this in a word of prayer. God, I thank you for this morning, and I thank you for every teen, every adult, every person that has gotten to touch a heart through missions, gotten to touch a heart through in whatever way you call them to interact with people in their day-to-day life, whatever neighbor you put in their path. And God, I just thank you for such a committed and faithful church in sending missions, in constantly supporting missions. God, this is such an important part of a church, is spreading. It's spreading to people that will grow and spread to people, and that's how we're designed to operate. That's what Jesus exemplified on earth for us. And God, I just ask as we go from here that we just continue in that. We don't leave this heart of service, this heart of love, God's love for people at trips like this, but every week we show that. Every week we live into that. And God, I just ask you to bless the trip as we go and give us safety. In your name, amen.
I'd just like to make a quick comment. I appreciate your servant's heart to serve the Lord. Thank you. And it does challenge us also to have a servant's heart. I have a song we used to sing at another church, Make Me a Servant Like You, Dear Lord. And I love that song because it talks about having a servant's heart to do what God wants us to do. And I also had a pastor friend of mine who made a comment. He said, whatever he did in life, he wanted to make an impact for Jesus Christ. So it's great that we have a church that wants to do that, and we have great kids that want to do that also. So it should challenge us adults also to want to make an impact for Christ also. As we sing our last song, it's going to be 319, the book. If you want to follow along, near the cross, please stand. Jesus, keep me near the cross, there a precious fountain, free to all, a healing stream flows from Calvary's mountain. In the cross, be my glory ever, till my raptured soul shall find rest beyond the river. Near the cross of trembling soul, love and mercy found me. There the bright and morning star sheds its beams around me. In the cross, be my glory ever, till my raptured soul shall find rest beyond the the river. Near the cross, O Lamb of God, bring its scenes before me. Help me walk from day to day with its shadows o'er me. In the cross, be my glory ever, till my raptured soul shall find rest beyond the river. Near the cross I'll watch and wait, hoping, trusting ever, till I reach the golden strand just beyond the river. In the cross, be my glory ever, till my raptured soul shall find rest beyond the river. You are dismissed. Have a great day.